Hey, what's happening, family? It's your man, Mark Black. Welcome to your Wednesday broadcast. I am glad to have you. I've already been chatting with some of you in the chat. So let me shout out Unsunken One and Tazaba. If you're here watching live, you know how we do. Pop your name in the chat so we can shout you out. You know, when you're knocking on somebody's door or you're in their house, let them know you're there. You know what I'm saying? By the way, before we get started, same old thing, right? Make sure you check the links in the description field. There's links there to reports, resources, books that you can get to, bone up on your on the reasons why we need your advocacy, right? There's a link there to a survey. Please, when you get a chance, fill it out. That information helps me to better serve you, right? One other thing that I want to address before we get into today's topic. Yesterday, I did a broadcast. By the way, Trey, welcome to the broadcast and happy hump day to you. Yesterday, I did a great broadcast, and I'm not saying that to toot my own horn, right? You reading it here in the chat. If you missed yesterday's breakdown of who won the Civil War, I don't know what to tell you. Go back and and just run it back because it was a must watch. But I have something I want to say about yesterday's broadcast. Yesterday, toward the end, I mentioned, and because as objective as I try to be, right, as much as I try to focus on the facts, the data, and so on and so forth, I'm still a human being. Okay, which means I have my own thoughts, my own ideas, right? Now, Anybody who has followed me for any period of time knows I have no problem with people who disagree with me. None. None at all. Matter of fact, I shout out to the haters, right? That doesn't mean you're bad to me. That just means, you dissent, right? So I always shout out my haters, right? I always lift them up, and I encourage them to push me to do better, to push me to be stronger in my advocacy. But to watch an entire broadcast of me bringing nothing but information, nothing but data, and then the one time I express an opinion, right? In my opinion, I'll go ahead and elaborate. I'm not going to buck dance and, jump around the topic. When I said that we need to be willing to work with, talk to, engage any politician, regardless of whether or not they have a D or an R after their name. We should be pushing Trump to do something on the executive level, right, toward our justice claim. We should be willing to work with the most racist, hardcore, avid, anti-black person in Congress if it means that we'll get something substantive done on this justice claim. That was my opinion yesterday. That remains my opinion today. With that having been said, to only have taken away that from yesterday's broadcast, you did yourself a disservice, and not to mention the fact you did me a disservice. So let me clarify right from the get-go where I'm at. I am not beholden to Democrats. I am not beholden to Republicans. Both parties, to me, are nothing more than tools. Tools to accomplish the ultimate goal of receiving our justice claim. I understand reciprocity. I understand that politics is a transaction, meaning that should a Republican decide that they want to put forward substantive legislation, advocacy for our justice claim, and they want to have a hug and a photo op, I will do it. I have no pride when it comes to my people. None. If I can forward our justice claim tomorrow and all I have to do is smile and hug a politician, y'all got that. It's on deck. I am probably not the advocate that you want to listen to if you think that all ADOS is about is somehow reforming the Democrats. I perhaps am not the advocate that you want to listen to if you think that hatred means that you can't work with somebody. I'm going to keep it a full buck. I love my people in general, but there's black people I don't like that I downright hate. But if we get this justice claim pushed through and this baby born, this debt paid to, nobody will be happier to see them niggas I hate get their due than me. The fact that politicians might be racist, that they may use slurs, that they may be conservative or liberal, none of that means a bit of difference when it ultimately comes down to what our aims are. So, if you think that ADOS is a project that's going to be somehow a long-term marathon instead of addressing the fact that we already sit at $1,700 median net worth without depreciating assets, and by 2053 we'll have zero. If you think that we can continue to make the mistakes of the past where we agitate, they promise us a few things, get us in the office, get them in the office, then we end up having to primary them out and agitate again, wash, rinse, and repeat. If you think that's what this transformational moment is about, perhaps I am not the advocate you need to be listening to. But now, if you are here because you believe that it has long been past time for our ancestors to be paid the honor, the due that they were denied, that their descendants have been denied, and you are willing to do that by hook or by crook, if it means walking your feet down to nubs, if it means jumping in front of politicians who you think can't stand you, no matter what it takes, if you're that person, then welcome home. Welcome to the angry black sheep. Whether you're white, black, Asian, Latino, I don't give a damn. This is your home. I'm going to only say this one time only. There's a lot of so-called conservatives who have no problem with the expansion of government. You think I'm kidding? What do you think PNAC was? The Project for a New American Century? You know, Dick Cheney, Paul Wolfowitz, Nicholas Kristof, all these arch neocons were about one thing: full spectrum American dominance in the short term and in the years to come. Bush et alia had no problem running $1 trillion deficit to fund the acquisition of land and territory and resources over in the Middle East, because we know the war was about oil and resources. Let's just keep it a buck. Let's do some real politics for a change, not this feel-good shit that we like to indulge in. The economy takes a crap. The economy takes a crap after 9/11. What does Shrub do? Shrub doesn't go to the banks. Shrub said, cut them checks. Sure, $300 wasn't a lot, but how many of you was able to pay your bills or buy a whole refrigerator full of food or pay your car note? Thanks to Shrub saying, here's some bread. They may take our lives, but they'll never take our consumerism. Just keep it in a buck. Unsunken one is right. The so-called Jews will fund the Democrats and the Republicans. Sheldon Addison has no problem funding conservatives, liberals, Republicans, Democrats. What he wants is one thing and one thing only. He is a single issue person, and that is the uplift of the so-called Jewish people. And that's just keeping it real. So again, if you have an issue with Mark Black saying that, yes, we should talk to Donald Trump, you have an issue with me shouting out Diamond and Silk because Diamond and Silk actually was able to work with Steve King, one of the most racist bastards in Congress, to do something for Americans, then I'm perhaps not the advocate you want to be listening to. And in the immortal words of Forrest Gump, that's all I got to say about that. Shout out to August Dreams. Love you, sister. Shout out to my man, the Cool Man. Shout out to Brother Charles. And shout out to Darker Visions. Welcome to the broadcast and happy hump day to you. Family, now that I done addressed the nitpickers, the naysayers, etc., etc., you know what time it is. Let's do work. Today's broadcast is entitled A Lesson in Contrasts. Because you see, family, in order to make value judgments about something, about anything, right, you have to have a basis for comparison, right? Without something that is evil, how do you know what good is, right? Without something dark, how do you know what something light is, right? In order to understand one thing, you need its contrast. So in order for us as ADOS here in America to understand the position, the role of advocacy, what we truly need to do to engage Sam and his cohorts to press home this justice claim, we need a lesson in contrasts. Some of you may remember that I was the brother who told you about Executive Order 13872, the one that Trump signed authorizing the government to fund initiatives and loans and stuff like that for Asian Americans. You didn't hear that anywhere else but here. Not tooting my own horn, just keeping it a buck. I told you yesterday that Steve King was going to be announcing today the legislation he intended to put forward called the Diamond and Silk Act. You didn't hear that anywhere else. And I guarantee you, you won't hear today anywhere else what I'm about to discuss today. Let's get to it. Got a lot of work to do today, family, and not a lot of time to do it. First of all, let me pop into the chat this link. For those of you who have been doing what I've suggested that you do, and that's follow along with me during the broadcast and look at the resources that I'm looking at, even though I put it up on the screen for you. This link is a link to an official European Union, EU, document addressing the fundamental rights of people of African descent. We're about to go to it, family. We are about to go to it. This resolution, by the way, this is a European Parliament, okay? This is the European Parliament. This is the government of the EU, of all 24 nations that make up the EU. This is the parliament that decides legislation, right? This is the equivalent of the European Congress. They passed a resolution on 26 March of this year on the fundamental rights of people of African descent in Europe. Now, the first thing that we can notice here is we're looking at this. Now, this first part here, I'm going to interpret the legalese for you, right? All this part right here where it's saying having regard to, this is simply European legal language that says this document is utilizing these other resources to refer to in support of this legislation, right? So having regard to the Treaty on European Union, and in particular the second and the fourth and the seventh indents of the preamble, Article 2, the second subparagraph of Article 3, parentheses 3, and Article 6 thereof, right? It basically lays out the legal precedents for what is encompassed under this legislation here, right? For example, you see here, having regard to the Durban Declaration and Program of Action from the World Conference on Racism in 2001, recognizing centuries of racism, discrimination, and injustice faced by people of African descent, right? This is referring to, so in other words, they're saying we regard these sources as authoritative and what guides the legislation we're about to put forward, the resolution we're about to put forward. You follow me? I just want to make sure I break it down, family. Again, links in the description. You can read this document at your leisure. Now, some of you are familiar with terms like whereas, right? These are basically things that the EU felt justified this resolution. For example, whereas The term people of African descent may also be used with Afro-European, African European, Black European, Afro-Caribbean, or Black Caribbean, and refers to people of African ancestry or descent who were born in, citizens of, or living in Europe, right? So notice what they're saying here. They're saying Afro-European, African European, Black European, Afro-Caribbean, Black Caribbean, and people who are born in, citizens of, or currently living in Europe. But what I want to draw your attention to is this here. Whereas the terms Afrophobia, and anti-Black racism refer to a specific form of racism, including any act of violence or discrimination fueled by historical abuses and negative stereotyping and leading to the exclusion and dehumanization of people of African descent. Whereas this correlates to historically repressive structures of colonialism and the transatlantic slave trade as recognized by the Council of Europe High Commissioner for Human Rights. Did you catch that? Peace, Ibrahim. Welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for checking in. Glad to see you. Family, did you catch that? Afrophobia, anti-Black racism, the EU, right? The government of the European Union is saying that these terms refer to a specific group of individuals delineated above, right? African European, Afro-European, Black European, Afro-Caribbean, Black Caribbean. And it states that this is fueled by historical abuses, negative stereotyping, repressive structures of colonialism, and the transatlantic slave trade as recognized by the government. Doesn't sound like that they're pushing for some commission to study what happened. Seems like the EU is pretty clear that Afrophobia, anti-Black racism in Europe is primarily caused by past abuses, negative stereotyping, colonialism, and the slave trade. And they recognize that. They recognize that. Here's another one to pay attention to. Whereas histories of injustices against Africans and people of African descent, including enslavement, forced labor, racial apartheid, massacres, and genocides in the context of European colonialism and the transatlantic slave trade, remain largely unrecognized and unaccounted for at an institutional level in the member states. It's saying here that even though Europe knows what happened, the governments of Europe recognize that across the board in the member states of the EU, these have gone unrecognized and unaccounted for in their official capacity, which this document intends to correct. So there is a bunch of whereases here. It's talking about discrimination in the housing market. Here it talks about the contribution of Afro-Europeans or Black Europeans to European society throughout history, right? Here it talks about their disproportional representation in the lower income strata and so on and so forth, right? So it lays out the logic chain behind the resolution. Once it completes the logic chain, here is where it gets into exactly what they intend to do to address it. Look at that. That's 28 different items on this list. Now, I would end up keeping y'all here all night if I went through these line item by line item. So I will definitely encourage you, again, links in the description, or not in the description, links in the chat, and I'll also put it in the description. Read the resolution for yourself. Okay? But I'm going to point out some of the key ones here. It encourages, okay, so one of them here is that recalls that some member states have taken steps toward meaningful and effective redress for past injustices and crimes against humanity, bearing in mind their lasting impacts in the present against people of African descent. It's saying that some of these items don't apply to those who are actually taking steps to pay recompense, to give reparations to the people that they have committed crimes against humanity. The EU is admitting that historical injustices such as colonialism and the slave trade are crimes against humanity. And they're admitting it officially in this document, in this resolution. Here's a call. It says calls on the member states to declassify their colonial archives. How many of us are worried, family, that we won't be able to trace back our lineage when it comes to pushing home this justice claim? Imagine, if you will, that America was required to declassify all of the documents it has on the transatlantic slave trade, on the sale and trade of slaves, on the amounts of money made, and so on and so forth, tax records, census counts, and so on and so forth. Here's another one. Calls for the commission, right? Because they established a commission to address, to include a focus on people of African descent in its current funding programs and for the next multi-annual period. And I'm sorry, the commission is actually the EU commission that's referenced the Council of Europe's Commissioner for Human Rights. So in other words, with all of the different human rights issues that the EU plans to address in the next multi-annual period, Africans and people of African descent get preference. Even if there's some sort of volcano eruption in Sumatra with a waves of, refugees coming in, doesn't matter. Africans get preference. Peace, by the way, to Sister Kimberly. Love you, sis. And peace to my brother Michael. And I'm glad that you are here. Welcome to the Angry Black Sheep. Right? Here's another one. Calls on the member states to end racial or ethnic profiling in all forms in criminal law enforcement, counterterrorism measures, and immigration controls, and to officially recognize and combat unlawful practices of unlawful discrimination and violence through anti-racism and anti-bias training for the authorities. Right? Here's another one. Calls on the member states to ensure that the adults and children of African descent have equal access to quality education and care free from discrimination and segregation, and to provide adequate learning support measures when necessary. Here's another one. Calls on the EU institutions and member states to promote, support employment, entrepreneurship, and economic empowerment initiatives for people of African descent to address the above average unemployment rates and labor market discrimination that they face. Now, family, I'm not saying that this is reparations. All right. But what I am saying is that this is the type of legislation you want to see as a prelude to a justice claim. This is what you want to see. None of this milquetoast bullshit about the president gets 3 choices of who sits on the commission, and the Speaker of the House gets 3 choices, and the Speaker pro tem of the Senate gets to. Damn all that. By the way, Charles, shout out to Robert Smith. That was a dope thing he did for them brothers at Morehouse. It's not reparations, but it was a damn fine thing, and I'm glad he did it. Oh, don't you worry, Andre. Peace, by the way, Bobby and Andre. Welcome to the broadcast and happy hump day to you. Don't you worry about it, family. Again, links in the chat. Make sure you review this document yourself. You can download it in PDF format or text format right here. Okay? You can see it here for yourself. Now, as I stated, they used a specific term to address the oppression that is being laid upon their black citizens as Europeans. That term is called Afrophobia. I'm going to show you another bit of documentation here. This, again, is the homepage of the Commissioner for Human Rights in the EU. This is official EU website. Don't worry, I'll pop the link in the chat for you so you can follow along and read the information yourself. This is the Commissioner for Human Rights for the EU. This is a comment that they made. Afrophobia. Europe should confront this legacy of colonialism and the slave trade. The commissioner states here, in a number of my country visits, I have been worried about manifestations of both old and emerging forms of racism and discrimination against minority. Black people are particularly exposed to racism and intolerance in many areas of their daily life. This is the commissioner, the high commissioner for the entirety of the EU for human rights, who's saying that when he goes to country member states of the EU, he notices discrimination and racism against minorities and specifically called out black people. It was something that he noticed so deeply that they actually gave it a name, Afrophobia. Now, family, as I told you, a lesson in contrast. Contrast that to our fellow citizens who are in America who try to tell us all we're post-racial. You niggas is free now. It's all good. Shout out to my brother Kraken. Welcome to your broadcast and happy hump day to you, sir. He speaks here about politicians and parties in various European countries who are using rhetoric that can only be qualified as hate speech. Ministers Miss Kienga and Miss Taubira in Italy and France, respectively, were among the most shocking. Here, he says, the insults, slogans, symbols, gestures, and chants of a racist nature have no place in and around stadiums. European countries must prevent and combat these phenomena, protect the victims, and sanction the perpetrators. And not only that, but it says here, if they confused on how to do that, right? Because you know how politicians here in America get confused. When you say reparations, what do you mean by reparations? Right? So they get confused. No, the High Commissioner said if they get confused, they should draw upon the useful guidance contained notably in the Council of Europe Committee of Ministers' recommendation on the prevention of racism, xenophobia, and racial tolerance in sport, and even quoted the year that the report was done. Here he says, I am particularly concerned about the racial profiling of black people. Black people first. That's strange. We're not used to that here. I mean, we got the CBC, so it's definitely not black people first. I'm particularly concerned about the racial profiling of black people and other visible ethnic minorities by law enforcement forces. Members of such minorities are subject to a disproportionately high number of identity checks. They are more often stopped, interrogated, and searched by the police on the sole grounds of race or color. Now, before we continue, I want to address something really quickly. The panties, pan-Africanists, pan-blackists, are not wrong when they say that black people face anti-black racism all around the world. They're not wrong in that. Matter of fact, no thinking ADOS person would ever assume that they were wrong in that. But here's the thing to note. Notice here that the High Commissioner for the Council of Human Rights in Europe is addressing anti-black racism. But where is he addressing it? I'll give you two guesses. Where is he addressing the issue of anti-black racism? Come on, people, don't make me work to get an answer about you. Where is the commissioner addressing the issue of Afrophobia, of anti-black racism? Where is he concerned about it occurring? Right? August not here in America. Where is he concerned about it happening? I mean, he's mentioning various EU nation states, right? But where is his focus? As the High Commissioner, where is his focus on anti-black racism and Afrophobia? I'll give it to y'all this time, but the next pop quiz, I need some answers or it's going to be trouble. He's concerned about it in the EU. I want you to put a bookmark on that. Okay? He's addressing this happening in the EU. Bookmark that. That is super, super important. He talks about his visit to France and how young black and Arab men are likely to be stopped by the police. Talks about differences in the treatment of black people and other minorities, because of course they do their whole POC thing over there too, right? But at least in this paper, he's specifically referencing black people first, and then the rest of them. You couldn't find that here if you was paying a politician. Oh, wait, we are paying the politicians. We paying them, and they can't even say our name. They can't even say black. Kamala Harris basically said black when she finally got exasperated. Now, I'm loosely quoting her in that interview. She said, well, I'm not going to just come out and say I'm just going to do something specific for black people. It's the only time you heard her ass say black. But here, you have the High Commissioner of the entire EU speaking specifically about black people. I want you to note that. I want you to note it, okay? Again, I'm going to pop the link into the chat. There is the page for the Commissioner for Human Rights in the EU and the statement that he wrote about Afrophobia. Here, he discusses social and economic inequalities suffered by black people in Europe. Notice this time he didn't even say like European equivalent of people of color. He's talking specifically here about black folk. It is obvious that ethnic origin is one of the main sources of discrimination. In its 2014 and 2015, links are in the article itself, annual reports, ECRI noted that discrimination testing has shown that black people across Europe are often far less likely to obtain employment or housing rental contracts due to their skin color. And he lays out some things he'd like to see by developing educational approach, inclusive, ending school segregation and all of that. He said, in parallel, national authorities must intensify their efforts to fight Afrophobia and the stereotypes which are associated with it by better including the teaching of the history of people of African descent in the curricula with a focus on their important contribution to European societies. Family, can you imagine if your kids went to school? Shout out to Tasha, JM. Right? Welcome to the broadcast and happy hump day to you both. Can you imagine, family, if your children went to school and they cracked open their history book and they saw not a couple of paragraphs about the transatlantic slave trade, but an entire section that ultimately ended with the contributions that, in spite of enslavement, their ancestors made to the growth of the nation? Can you imagine the psychological effect that would have on your children? To not just read that their ancestors was beat up and forced to work in the hot sun all day, but they actually did something. They weren't just property, they were people. Can you imagine the shift in consciousness of your children? Can you imagine the shift in consciousness of yourself when you went to college and American history class had to teach the contribution, the actual true contribution of the enslaved and their descendants to this nation? We nearly come into the conclusion. He said European states must adopt a proactive approach. In particular, European states should promote Black people's positive contributions to Europe, which is an inherently pluralistic continent. Act resolutely against all forms of incitement to hatred against Black people and pay special attention to combating racism in politics, sports, and online hate speech. Prohibit all forms of school segregation and address the existing overrepresentation of Black children in public schools. Prohibit all forms of racial profiling and policing and establish an effective and transparent mechanism for complaints. Yeah, Unsunken One, that's the fan, bruh. Trust me. I'll be sitting up here looking like what's his face? Luther Vandross when he's doing a concert without it. Signed, Niels Muiznieks, right? The EU High Commissioner for the Council of Human Rights. And there you have it, family. That's what advocacy in your government looks like. That's what advocacy in your government looks like. It looks like people that have power that say your name, not include you and lump you in with this group and that group and the nebulous, oft-used people of color who say Black, or in our case, ADOS. You just saw it yourself. That, if you were wondering, that's what advocacy in your government looks like. It looks like the government telling its member states, when it comes to Black people, you better get your shit together. All of the historical injustices, colonialism, the slave trade we done visited upon them, that can't fly no more. They here, they live among us. And if we gonna have peace, we gotta address them. Y'all make sure to forward this one to the CBC so they could actually get a glimpse of what actual advocacy for a constituency looks like. Specific advocacy. You're damn right, August Dreams. There wasn't no all lives matter. We were a rising tide, lift all boats. Nothing about that document. Nothing about that resolution passed by the damned parliament, the Congress of the EU. All lives mattered anything. They repeated over and over and over. Black, African, African descent, Afrophobia, black. There wasn't no legislation where they was trying to include LGBTQIAPSTUVWXYZN. This wasn't no legislation where they was including, as our esteemed elder Claude Anderson was wont to say, humpbacks, midgets, whales. This wasn't included or slipped in under no legislation for a Green New Deal or to address climate change. This was specific advocacy for a specific constituency who make up a specific group of individuals in their member states. I'm going to let y'all chop on it. I'm going to open up the phone. But before I do, this meeting was held in Strasbourg, Chris. Strasbourg is essentially the EU's headquarters in Europe, right? This was a meeting that was actually held not in the UN, in the EU. This is the European Union addressing anti-black racism and Afrophobia in its member nations. They passed a resolution. Here, I'll show you again. They passed this resolution on the 26th of March of this year, specifically demanding that they address anti-black racism and Afrophobia in their nations. Now remember, family, the title of the broadcast, because I told you to bookmark something. Can somebody pop in the chat what I asked you to bookmark? What did I ask you to note to make sure that you put it in the tab, the active tab in your frontal lobe? Because we about to look at the contrast. Thank you. The contrast. Yes, the contrast. What I wanted us to make sure to bookmark was who the High Commissioner was addressing. Where was his concern about anti-black racism and Afrophobia? Who was it that he was concerned about and where? He was addressing the EU. You feel me? Here's the contrast. Let me pull this up. This here is the website of the now infamous NCOBRA, the National Coalition for Blacks for National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. You know, the exploits. Now, I got to give it to them. They started off fairly easy, right? they got the GED part right. What is reparations? Right? They laid it out. Links there in the chat for you to review the documentation yourself. They got this part right. I wonder who they paid to write it for them. But they got it right. Now, they talk about here what form should reparations take. Now, I actually don't have any problems whatsoever so far with what they say reparations is and the forms that reparations should take. It makes sense. After all, they are the exploits. I have no clue where Mr. Mark Thompson, aka Minister, is, but hopefully he's taking a long and much needed vacation. But family, I want you to note something right off the bat, because I'm about to introduce you to the contrast. Now remember, they held themselves up in Cobra, held themselves up to be the exploits on this. Hey, y'all ADOS folk, chill out. In Cobra got this. We the exploits. We got the Midas touch. You niggas relax. Chill. Right? Let's start here. The material forms of reparations include cash payment, land, economic development, and repatriation resources, particularly to those who are descendants of enslaved Africans. See, I told you. Didn't take long for the fuckery to commence. What is this repatriation resources shit they're talking about? I mean, last time I checked, as ADOS, right, and as an ADOS advocate, I have been calling for the honoring of our justice claim as Americans. Now, I understand some of you, should we get our due, would want to leave America. The memories is just too bad, right? You can't deal. Okay, cool. And I support your right to do that. Do I think that the government should ensure you have a right to split? That we need to be advocating as a part of a comprehensive reparations package, the right for you to, for them to fund your goodbye party? What? So we supposed to put in all this work, all this advocacy, and trust me, family, it's going to take every bit of advocacy, every bit of power, and every voice we have to press home this justice claim. And we're supposed to do it to get cash payments, land, economic development, and resources to leave? Huh? As if you niggas who want to go can't just take your checks and dip out? But this is the exploits. This is the ones who's perpetrating like they doing you a solid by speaking on your behalf. Michael said, let me call Africa to see if this is okay. Right? Somebody call back and let them know. Africa, by the way, when they cut us these checks, niggas, we coming. What? We signed on for that. Wait, y'all bringing y'all money? Oh, okay, cool. Right? Psst, please. But in spite of this dumbass. I'm sorry, I can't call it anything else but what it is, family. I'm trying not to curse, but I cannot call this anything what it is. This dumbass idea that America is supposed to give us cash payments, land, economic development, also we can take it and go. Because of repatriation resources. Okay, so as dumbass of an idea as that actually is, this is the word I want you to focus on right here. What does that word say, family? Let me blow this up for you so you can see it live and in living color. What does that word say right there, family? Particularly. I'm saying it all Southern. Particularly. So let me get this straight. So far, so good on laying out what reparations is. So far, so good, except for your dumbass idea that they're going to give you reparations so you can dip out. So far, so good. But what is this particularly that they're referring to here? Right? Because when I use the word, see, now I'll admit something, family, and I appreciate your forbearance and your patience with your brother. I am handicapped, and I don't talk about it all that often. I have an affliction. I have suffered from this affliction my entire life. And so I will ask your forgiveness and your forbearance right in advance. I have an affliction, a disease that gives me the deep-seated need for shit to make sense. I know, right? It's tough. It's tough. I struggle with it every day. But I get by. I don't know who heads in Cobra. We can look it up. We got their website right here. We'll look it up. Right? What the hell do they mean by particularly? Who else is in Cobra trying to include on our justice claim? Because if they were advocating solely for us, there would be no need to say particularly. Because it would be clear that you're only talking about one group of people. You use particularly when you're referencing more than one group of people or more than one person. So who the hell is this particularly that Cobra is talking about? Well, family, never let it be said that dumbassery doesn't double down. Because here they say, within the broadest definition on who should receive reparations, within the broadest definition, all black people of African descent in the United States should receive reparations in the form of changes or in elimination of laws and practices that allow them to be treated differently and less well than white people. Now, I could go with that. Hear me out, fam. Put down your torch and pitchforks, okay? Cool your motor. I could go with that. In a really broad sense, I would like to see anti-black racism end in the United States. Now, do I think that we can legislate that? Hell no. There will always be white folks that just can't stand niggas. There will always be Latinos that can't stand black people. Hell, there will always be black people who can't stand black people. Okay? But yes, I would like to see the elimination of laws and practices that go to foment anti-black racism in America. Okay. But now here's the thing. If N Cobra was being a fair dealer, right? If they wasn't trying to pull a trick bag on us, just after this statement, you would see all the rest of it be about one group of people. ADOS. Instead, these assholes double down. For example, ending racial profiling and discrimination in the provision of health care, providing scholarship and community development fund for Black people of African descent, and supporting processes of self-determination will not only benefit descendants of enslaved Africans, but all African descendant people in the United States who, because of their color, are victims of the vestiges of slavery. Are you fucking shitting me? I'm sorry. I know that I've been trying to do real well on my... Okay, let me calm down. I know I've been trying to do real well on my curse. Are you kidding me? So, the exploits say that we need to be pushing to benefit anybody who got black skin in the United States for reparations, for our justice claim. Because it not only will benefit descendants of enslaved Africans, which is the whole point behind ADOS, is to press home the justice claim for the American descendants of slavery. But they want to benefit pretty much anybody who's black. Eritrean, Ghanaian, Kenyan, Somalian, right? Cote d'Ivoirian, Nigerian, South African. Are you kidding me? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, John, I absolutely agree. This so bullshit. I just want to grab them and be like, no, bad in Cobra, no. Like, family, I'm almost loath to go further into this document, but we as ADOS advocates and proponents are always about the data. So never let it be said that we half-assed it. Let us continue. Why are African descendants entitled to reparations? And here it talks about the history of the transatlantic slave trade with all these damn African words I can barely pronounce. Maafa, Mangamizi. I don't know what the hell any of that is. Whatever. I'm assuming it is some equivalent to Holocaust, like the Shoah for the Jews or whatever the case may be. Whatever. Right? But it talks about the history of the transatlantic slave trade, so on and so forth. Oh, okay. Mangamizi is a Swahili term meaning disaster. Thank you, Marimba Ani, because we speak Swahili here in the United States. I'm sorry. I can't. I can't. I'm done. Fuck this. I'm done. I'll put the link. I'll put the link into the chat. For the rest of you who want to read this drivel, Have at it, Hoss. And there you have it, family. Straight from the exploit's mouth. They're demanding reparations. Pretty much anybody who got melanin that's of a certain shade. They're demanding reparations, so they say, from the United States government for Nigerians, Guinea-Bissau citizens, people from Chad, Togo, Mauritania, Mali. Do I need to go on? Oh, and y'all too. Before we forget, you know how easy it is to, to slip the American descendants of slavery out of the discussion. Oh, and you too. Because remember, family, reparations will not only benefit you, the exploits. They got this. A lesson in contrasts. Now, why did I have you bookmark who the High Commissioner of the Council for Human Rights in the EU was focused on? Why did I have you bookmark that? Because the answer is very simple. If you constitute a group now in the EU from one of the member states who goes before the High Commissioner with an issue that demands specific redress as Afro-Europeans, as Black Europeans, as Afro-Caribbean, Black Caribbean, so on and so forth, he's already inclined to hear what you got to say. Peace, Easy Axe. Peace, Jacqueline. Welcome to the broadcast. Shout out to my brother, esteemed brother CRU. Christine, I see you, sister. If I didn't say hello to you, I had you bookmark that because take a look at what these dumb niggas are doing. You mean to tell me that the United States now is supposed to cover the VIG for reparations for everybody from Africa just because they came here? And you think that's going to be effective? You think that they're going to go to the American government and say, hey, there's a justice claim. You need to honor it for the American descendants of slaves and all black people. Man, even if the government was currently positively inclined toward our position, right? And the music playing in the background, they're like, right? The music playing, everything good. They're like, oh yeah, we about to do this reparations thing. We about to take care of this black thing, put this baby to bed, pay this debt. We are hyphy. Yes. Yeah. Wait. Musical stop, record scratch. And the government will be like, what you mean all black people? We did shit to all black people. Shout out to my brother, esteemed brother Albert Bird, by the way. What's good? Easy Axe, I see you. So we get in there, we, ADOS folk, you and I, get in there, walk our feet to nubbins. Talk until our throats are hoarse. We banging away on keyboards, typing up documents, having meet and greets, getting out there advocating in our communities, talking to our people, to uphold our lineage, to stand up and fight for the due that their ancestors should have got but didn't. That is now owed to us. So that these fools can come in and try and get that for every black person in this family. I can't make it up. I can't make it up. This is the experts. Putting on their kufi hats and they dashikis made in China, waving a red, black, and green flag made from plastic, also made in China. Going in there demanding that the United States government pay every black person that's ever came to this country just because they black, and expect that that's a serious advocacy. But the CBC will eat it up. Especially if they bring, if they bring Lil Wayne. God damn, in Cobra, it seems like all they need to do to sabotage our justice claim is walk up in there and have Beyonce sign off on it. Because you know how the CBC love their celebrities. Hey, we talking about psychological and mental health of black people today. Let's not call somebody like Joyce DeGruy, doctor, psychologist, clinical psychologist trained. No, listen. No. We need Taraji. But yeah, Andrea, that's a great question, because we all know that there's a not insubstantial portion of the CBC who are second generation immigrant, who come from elsewhere. Some Jamaicans, some Bahamians, and so on and so forth. They trying to change their online image on Twitter, right? So they went from the official CBC to the Black Caucus. And the woman that they have that's handling all of their social media stuff, she's from Sierra Leone. Now again, no hate to her, right? She's a citizen. She here. This her home. But what the hell does she got to do with anything about black people? She's from Sierra Leone. She even had a Sierra Leonean flag all over her little profile on Twitter. She ain't even flying the red, white, and blue. Thank you, August. All we need to do is have Cobra announce a luncheon and invite Trey Songz. And there goes your justice claim. You put in all the work, and Cobra puts in all the sabotage. Because them fools know that the U.S. government ain't gonna ain't gonna sign off on paying people just because they black and they here. They know this. They're trying to strangle your justice claim in the cradle. But they're the experts. Again, I ask you, family, are you going to let them? Are you going to let them rob you of the one opportunity, this one transformational moment that we have to press home this justice claim? Or are you going to stand up now and start being loud and boisterous and disrespectful as only black people can? Are you ready to put boot to neck? Because I'm telling you, in Cobra, they done said it. They told you bold in black and white who they looking to get reparations for. You are in there somewhere. A lesson in contrasts. Or like Yeshua said, you'll know a tree by the fruit it bears. A good tree bears good fruit, and a bad tree bears bad fruit. And Cobra is trying to blossom and have us all eating fruit of the poison tree. The CBC is aiding and abetting. All these decadent veiled black celebrities are aiding and abetting. So now the question becomes simply this. You, my brothers and my sisters, as ADOS folk, what you gonna do? You gonna continue to pussyfoot around with your politics, play feel-good politics? Oh no, I'm only gonna talk to Democrats because they nice to me. I really like that Joe Biden guy. He's something else. The only thing I want to tell in Cobra, the Democrats, and any other disinterested parties about my justice claim is this. Get your hand out my pocket. You ain't there to cut the check or to advocate them cutting the check. We don't fucking need you. And I'm damned if I'll accept another celebrity going in there and speaking on real topics. Family, damn. They don't even show us the respect, the basic human decency to address our issues with actual subject matter experts. Explain to me how T.I. and Charlemagne the God are subject matter experts on economics and the racial wealth disparity. Explain this to me. Somebody tell me when Charlemagne submitted his doctoral dissertation on the ramifications of Jim Crow on the racial wealth gap. Somebody explain to me when that happened. Tell me when T.I. got his master's degree in economics and minored in finance. So why the hell are they being sought out for any voices? They need to get their hands out my pocket. They need to fall back and get their hands out my ADOS pocket. I got to justify to people why I say that we need to be talking to every single politician that we can get in front of. And I live in the whitest state, one of the whitest states in the union. I live in Washington State, and I'm here in white folks' faces about my justice claim, both Republican and Democrat. But we supposed to sit here and just go, oh, and Cobra been in the game for like 30 years, so I guess they know what they doing. Man, it's time for us to do some real politic. Not none of this fake ass, feel good, celebrity driven, drama driven politics where they talk real good to us while they sticking a finger up our butts. But real politic. Let me describe for you, family, because I'm not going to keep y'all long. I want y'all to enjoy y'all's hump day. But let me explain to you what real politic looks like. I'm going to give you 2 words. You can hate them or you can love them. I don't give a damn. 2 words. Amoral pragmatism. What does this mean? Real politics says We don't give a damn if it's right or wrong, if it make people happy or sad, if it feel good or if it don't. If it work for us, that's what we want. Black folk need to adopt an attitude of amoral pragmatism in their politics. I wouldn't give two shits about who like us. Steve King could call me 9 niggas before 9 a.m. over his breakfast. But if I can get in front of that man's face and get some legislation done that benefits me and mine, we could talk about it. Amoral pragmatism. Only thing I care about is what works, what gets the job done for my tribe. Real politics focuses on the data, not feelings. You might feel that Donald Trump is the worst president since, well, Barack Obama. But the data suggests that he's no worse, really, than any other president we've had, the other 44 presidents we've had before him. When we're talking about as ADOS, hell, I don't even think Trump is in the top 5. Because I know for a fact Andrew Johnson gave Donald Trump a run for his fucking money. Woodrow Wilson was far and away a worse president to ADOS folk than Donald Trump. Andrew Jackson didn't give a damn about black people. Hell, he didn't care about black people or Indians. When the Congress said, wait a minute, I know we trying to get this land, but maybe we going a little too hard in the paint on the Indians, so you need to ease up. Andrew Jackson was like, you enforce it then. Reagan, damn. Reagan did more dirt to ADOS people than pretty much any president in modern day. How many of you had folks that was in nursing homes that ended up getting turned out because Reagan cut off support for Medicare and Medicaid nursing homes and stuff? How many of your people had mental health issues that were committed to facilities where they would be able to be cared for and receive treatment that Reagan just turned out on the streets? Just shut it down. How many of you had one of them good union jobs that Reagan just busted the hell out of? Reagan was far and away a worse president. He was the one who actually set up the war on drugs. But you want to talk about us being the conscience of the Congress? Fuck out of here. Thank you, Thomas Jefferson. LBJ, look, I'll enforce the law and these niggers will vote for us for the next 100 years. Because family, look, I got told that I'm somehow like a white supremacist of sorts because I said that the Voting Rights Act was weak to begin with. Well, here's my chance to explain my logic. Do you know why the Voting Rights Act was bullshit? I'll explain to you why it was bullshit. Because, see, I understand history. The Voting Rights Act was unnecessary legislation because you know what gave us the right to vote? The 15th Amendment to the Constitution. How do you need to pass legislation that's supposed to uphold the Constitution, which is already the highest law in the land? So all LBJ essentially did was agree to enforce the law, and niggas stay winning. Oh, but then when the Voting Rights Act comes up for review and they say, oh, no, we post-racial now, you know what I'm saying? So, damn, the Voting Rights Act. Everybody want to get in their feelings. If they really wanted the legislation to have teeth, there would be no semi-annual or biennial reviews or anything like that. It would have said, due to the history of these states that have long disenfranchise black people through voter suppression forever. As long as America is a nation, they will be under scrutiny. Full stop. That's one page. But that's not the legislation that got signed, now was it? So the legislation itself, first of all, was unnecessary because the 15th Amendment gave us the franchise, and second of all, was weak when it was signed. But you want to hate me because I said. You want to hate me talking about affirmative action is under attack. Affirmative action needs to die in its current iteration. Affirmative action was never about benefiting white women, humpbacks, midgets, Latinos, Arabs. It was about specific redress for us, and it has failed us. A few boomers got the opportunity to take advantage of some degree of affirmative action. All the rest of us are waiting behind the line for some smart little geeky Asian kid to get his spot up to bat. Affirmative action needs to go. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't replace it with something that specifically addresses us, that offers specific redress for us. But under its current iteration, affirmative action should be dead already. We should help kill it. This monster's feeding everybody else and starving us. But I'm a right winger. I'm a neocon because I actually have the nerve to question some of the things that you hold the most sacred. And the worst part about it is I just gave you the data as to why. This is not my feelings. The legislation was unnecessary and weak at its inception. Or did you really think that LBJ was going to go out of his way unless he absolutely had to, unless we forced him to the table to do anything for ADOSP? You remember Nixon's campaign with Lee Atwater. He said, you can't say nigger anymore, right? So you have to use code words. You have to use stuff like busing and states' rights. You have to become so abstract that when you talk about black people, nobody knows that's black. You knows you talking about them, but white folks do. That's called dog whistling. You can't hear it. But our white fellow citizens heard it loud and clear. They heard, oh, desegregation, white flight, time to bounce. And they dipped out to the suburbs, left us the rotting husks of cities. But then we started to try to get a little bit of a come up then. And we said, well, okay, we want to move out to the suburbs because those houses are really nice out there. White folks said, oh, they coming out here? Boom. Let's go to the exurbs. They heard the dog whistling loud and clear. You the only one that still thinks that the game ain't rigged. That legislation actually meant something. They got you fighting your butt off for legislation that was weak from word, say, go. They got you scared of the Supreme Court. Man, he's going to load the Supreme Court with conservatives. Let me ask you a question. I'm about to finish it up, family, and I'm going to open up the phone. But let me ask you a question. Just real quick, family, while I got all you folk here. Are you going to be mad, or would you be mad if Donald Trump said he wants to do reparations? Would you be upset about that? Like, would that bother you? A serious question. Like, if Trump had an epiphany, you know what I'm saying? His ass got hit by lightning and a spot on his lily white ass turned black. Or, you know what I'm saying? He found that it was a new black show on TV he liked. I don't care what it was that drove him. But let's say that Donald Trump had an epiphany tomorrow and decided he was coming out for reparations. Would you be pissed off about that? Would you be upset? I mean, don't get me wrong, you'd probably be skeptical, and rightfully so. I would be skeptical at this point if the Democrats get behind reparations. With all the rancor and bullshit and kerfluffle and drama that we've had trying to get the Democrats to sign off on H.R. 40, I would be skeptical if a Democrat says. But would you be pissed off if Donald Trump signed off on that? So Ms. Denny said, hell no. August, hell no. Right? Christine, I welcome him. Right? Chris, you a fool for that one. I love that good government cheese. I wish he'd bring back those damn Harvest boxes. I'll take one. I want some commodity cheese. I want all that. But yeah, fam, I don't think you'd be mad. Now, let me ask you this. Again, serious question. If you would not be mad that he advocated for your justice claim. Again, Michael's skepticism is definitely warranted, right? Trust, but verify. How many times did we hear from Negroes during Barack Obama's 2 terms that, you know what, don't even sweat it, fam. You know what I'm saying? Look, this first go round, he got to appease the white folks, right? But see, when he get in that second term, though, that's when he going to go black. Okay, so yeah, a little bit of skepticism, a whole lot of skepticism is definitely warranted. But after your skepticism has been addressed and Trump has made it clear that he's going to do something on reparations, you wouldn't be mad. Okay, we've established that y'all wouldn't be angry. All right. So if you would not be angry, and again, serious question, if you would not be angry, then why ain't you asking him? If you'd be cool with Donald Trump advocating on your behalf, right? If he said, this is an injustice that has long been overdue, we need to address it, pay the debt, yada, yada, yada. All the flowery rhetoric, skepticism's allayed, all of that. If you would be cool with that, why ain't we asking him? Why ain't we talking to him? Why we got to be considered to be some old Candace Owens type individual just because we suggest that Republicans might align in some way with our interests? Thank you, 42. If the bag was right, Donald Trump is straight. Because he ain't no worse or no better than any other president we had. He's just the president. And I could think of a hell of a lot worse presidents. ADOS had folk that had worse than him. So, if you wouldn't be upset with a Republican advocating for you, then why aren't you asking them to advocate for you? I'm not saying, listen, understand me. I'm not one of these Blexit characters, okay? I don't do caricatures of coons. That's not how I roll. All right, I'm not going to be pulling no Candace Owens shit talking about Hitler was just misunderstood. That ain't how I roll. Okay, I am not for the Republicans. I am not a party partisan for either the Republicans or the Democrats. I will not say that again. What I am is an amoral pragmatist. What I want is what works. No more. No less. Period. My vote is for sale. Thank you, CRU. My vote is for sale. Your vote is for sale. Look, if Kim Kardashian could go in there and talk to Trump and he come out for reparations, I will kiss the ground that bitch's feet walk on. Amoral pragmatism. Go ahead, Kim. Hit him up. See what he got to say on it. It's time. Speaking of say, it's time for you to have a say. 425-296-1980. It's your call-in number. I can take one call at a time. First come, first serve. My vote for sale. How about yours? My politics is for exchange. We could do deals. I'm a wheeling and dealing with my vote, with my advocacy. To my fellow white citizens out there, come talk to me. I don't care if you was in the KKK or whatever the case may be. Let's see if we can have a meeting of the mind, shall we? Let's see where our interests may align. I'm gonna share a story with you, fam, before a call comes in. I'm gonna share a story with you. How many of you are familiar with Phil from the Advice Show? I'm sorry, with African Diaspora News Media. Tazaba, I think the Republicans haven't came at us, truthfully, to be honest, because why? You got black people that get canceled just for mentioning Republicans, let alone actually talking with them. Because we still be in our feelings. We still have that abusive love-hate relationship with the damn Democrats. Cool, I'm not saying that I am immoral. I'm saying that my politics don't have nothing to do with my morals. When it comes to getting our justice claim, there's no option I take off the table. What I want to do is what will work. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I don't have morals. Of course I do. I'm saying they ain't got nothing to do with how I do politics. How many of y'all are familiar with Phil from the Advice Show? Or I'm sorry, damn it, that long ass crazy name. He named this damn channel African Diaspora News Media or whatever, right? You familiar with him? Phil gets an email from a group of white folks, I believe in Wyoming, who are white separatists. Thank you. We demanded reparations. Welcome to the Angry Black Sheep. We are glad to have you. He received an email from a group of white separatists. Now, he actually posted the email up for all of us to read. So no funny business. It was an email from a group of white supremacists, or not white supremacists, white separatists. Okay? The white separatists said, we notice that you're advocating for your people. We would like to help you and your people get what you want so that you can leave us alone. We want to be separate from you. We want to make sure that you have equal resources, equal opportunities, and equal position, just simply away from us. We would like to have a sit down with you because we see you as a voice. Would you be willing and interesting to come and talk with us? You know what he did? He showed the email and put them on blast and said, I don't talk to no white supremacists and stuff. I'm sorry, fam, but let that have been your boy. Let that have been me that got that email. I'd have told y'all about it, right? Because that's my job, to be your news guy, right? To be your information man, right? To help give you the data you need for informed decisions. But you can best damn believe I'd have been like, how you doing? I'm Mark Black. You said you wanted to have a sit down? Oh, don't mind them. They're brothers of Mark Black. What'd you want to talk about today? Didn't Elijah Muhammad have a sit down with the Ku Klux Klan? I'm not bothering Phil. I don't hate Phil at all. That's my brother. But I am keeping it a full ass buck. That was the dumbest damn thing I ever saw Phil do. Here you are, considered a voice that could actually influence people that you would think have a natural antipathy to your interests. And what do? You put them on blast for cred with the pro-black community. Thank you, CRU. In war, you have a parlay. You get together with your enemy across the battlefield. And you say, I'm Captain so-and-so of the ADOS forces, and you are? Pleasure. What would you like to discuss today? Well, now I don't think we can do that. Did you have something else in mind? It's a parlay. But I get told all the time that there's no white folks out here, no, non-liberal white folks out here that wouldn't support our justice claim. You got white separatists that would have no problem with paying the justice claim if it meant they can get away from Negroes. Politics is an exchange, fam. Straight up, how many times do your ADOS advocates have to tell you that? I would have had to sit down. I would have heard what they had to say, and I would have told them what I have to say. And we would have looked for a place where our interests align. Thank you. Phil's got almost over 1 million subscribers to his channel. They reached out to him because they thought that he was a voice for his people and somebody that they could use as an avenue to let them know what it is that they're interested in and to have a sit down, a meeting of the minds to see where their interests align. No, Christine, I was being hyperbolic. I'll be honest with you. That thing when he put the white separatists on blast, that was pretty damn dumb. That was right up there with some of the dumb shit he's done. He ain't done a lot of dumb. No shade to Phil Scott before y'all run tell that, right? No shade to the brother. I love him. But that was dumb. We need to be out here confabbing, politicking, doing real politic. Not feel-good politics. It wouldn't make me feel good to go and sit in front of a group of white separatists. But damn it, if there's a place where our interests align to the point where I can get them to fight on my behalf alongside of me, then that's a fight I don't have to have. Thank you very much. We do not have any permanent friends, any permanent allies, only permanent interests. Remember that. Remember that. If you take nothing else away from anything I tell you, remember that. It doesn't matter who ultimately comes on board with us to help us push home this justice claim. They might be riding with us that day and be hating us the next. So what? They may hate us today and align with us tomorrow. So what? Our interests remain the same. The restoration, the remediation, and the repair of ADOS people. That's it. And that's all. The line is open, family. It's your turn. Talk to the family. What you got to say on it? No permanent allies. No permanent enemies. No permanent enemies. Oh, did I say that out loud? You mean to tell me that enemies we have today might actually be allies of ours tomorrow? Did I say that out loud? If we don't have no permanent friends, no permanent allies, then we don't have any permanent enemies either. Like some people would try to tell you that there is eternal and undying angst between us and the rest of America. No, it's not. America is still upholding injustice against us. That's where the animosity comes from. We put this baby to bed. We stamp paid to this justice claim. Where's the animosity? No permanent enemies either. The Republicans may and still are, to a great degree, enemies of ours, if you want to call them that. But that doesn't mean they have to be permanent enemies. Just like the Democrats haven't been permanent friends and allies. They've sold us out every chance they goddamn get. Peace to my man Double C, by the way. Welcome to the broadcast. You late, but you right on time. Family, the number's there. Holla at your people. 425-296-1980. What you got to say on what we talked about today? Darker visions, of course I do. First of all, I think it's disrespectful as hell to hold it on Juneteenth. Even the most coonish black person among us understands the significance of Juneteenth. And you gonna hold an official government meeting on Juneteenth? That's like having a meeting on the 4th of July. What the hell? As many of us can be there, should be there. No permanent allies, no permanent enemies, no permanent friends, just permanent, full-on, full-bore ADOS interests. That is it, and that is all. Family, I see y'all don't mind listening to a brother today, so I've talked enough. I want you to enjoy the rest of your hump day, so I'm going to go ahead and call it a wrap. I'll give it another maybe minute or so for somebody to call in, but then I'm going to wrap it up. But family, in conclusion, I hope that as your brother and one who loves you, I gave you a contrast, a lesson in contrasts. First contrast is you got a chance to see what advocacy. Oh, here we go. Caller from 346. It's your man Mark Black. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Mark? This is Antoine from Houston again.
Antoine, what's up, brother? How you be?
Man, I'm good, man. Just making it chilling.
I hear you. Talk to us, fam. What do you think about the topic we discussed today?
Man, I think like this point, I agree with the foreign and blacks trying to get in on this justice claim. And the thing is, they come over here, they get rich, they make all this money, but you don't never see them doing nothing with us. You don't never see them in our neighborhood trying to help our community out. Mm-hmm. Like they go back and they take it back to their countries and stuff like that. They ain't never did, or if you see like Trayvon get shot or anything we out there doing a protest, you never see them come show up for it. Now, like so, it's like.
Antoine, let me ask you real quick, if I may, brother. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want to get this in real fast, if I may.
Go ahead.
You said that you don't necessarily have a problem with other black folk, like who are not ADOS, getting reparations. I'm not misquoting you, right? You okay with that?
I'm okay with them not getting reparations. Getting reparations.
Are you okay with them getting in on this justice claim with us?
No, I don't think they should get any of it.
Okay, cool. I thought that you said you did, and that's why I wanted to clarify. So please continue, brother.
Oh, no, I was saying, like, I don't think they should. I've been saying that they do be trying to get in on it, but I don't see how we the same. Like, I feel like they just start coming over here, like, 60 years ago or something, and all of a sudden they start calling us African too. But when we see them, we know we got the same.
Yeah.
And then, so it's like, I'm still standing on Until they tell us where's our home in Africa, I don't care about how many people tell me they didn't travel here, there, wherever, seen however many slave ports. Until you give us a definite home to where we came from in Africa, I don't believe we came from there. And like until they so about that anyway. But I'm gonna stay on topic about I don't think they should get any kind of reparation.
Got you, brother. Hey, I appreciate that, man. We got quite a few calls coming in. I want to grab them, so I'm gonna have to let you go. But I thank you as always. You are welcome to call in anytime, brother, and we appreciate your input.
All right, appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Go ahead and call back one call at a time. Remember, family, I don't have a multi-line system, so one call at a time. Truth be told, those of y'all who recognize that tone, that's Skype. But it gets the job done because I want to hear what you got to say. Oh, go ahead and call back in, black man. I think that was you that I didn't kick you off. I can only take one call at a time. So go ahead and drop a call in. But yeah, here's the thing. The brother is right. There's no way in hell that anybody, look, family, justice in this country is done by class, right? You ever heard of a class action lawsuit? The first thing they do is delineate who the class is. ADOS is our attempt to delineate the class that's due the justice claim. We start diluting it with all these other people who don't fit the parameters of ADOS, and we dilute the possibility of justice. It's as simple as that. This isn't hate. This is clarity. There we go. Black man, what's on your mind, brother?
Hey, not a lot, Mark. This is what I wanted to say about, doing stuff together when you're on opposite sides. If you like weed, right, and I don't care for weed, but I like moonshine, that's where we have our commonality at, and that's why we should work together.
Exactly. We both like to get toe up.
Group. Right, but I like the moonshine, so hey, help me get moonshine. I'll be there for you for your weed.
I mean, I like it. It's hella hood, but I like it. That's a hell of an analogy, right?
Yeah. Right. The same thing when homosexuals were talking about they want to be married and everything, right? The first thing I said there and said, okay, then I want 2 wives. If it's only about marriage, then let me have my 2 wives, or let her have her 2 husbands. It doesn't matter. If all we're sitting there saying is just a marriage, it ain't nothing more than that. We'll advocate together then.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I think the state shouldn't be involved in marriage anyway. I don't even think that should be a state thing. But that being said, I definitely feel the sentiment.
That, but I get it's already there. It's already done. But if we're gonna have that discussion, we're gonna make this happen for them. Well, I want it to happen for me as well.
Right?
And those are the kind of compromises that we can easily make together. And me and my cousin, he's from California, and we talk about this stuff all the time. But he won't let me have what I want. He wants what he wants, and we have this thing right now because they're really trying to fool you with this about the guns, right?
Mm-hmm.
About they don't want any assault style looking weapons. But even if it's a like a AR-15, right?
Right.
An AR-15 can be in the platform of anything from a 22 on up to a 50 cal.
Absolutely.
So
matter of fact, I would like to get an AR on a 308 myself. Just saying.
See there? See, okay. So, but you have a 308 and a rifle, but because it's a wood stock, they don't see it as dangerous as something that looks. They're worried about the dressing on it. They're not worried about what comes out of it.'re just saying the way it looks scary. But that doesn't matter because the projectile that comes out is the same round that comes out of, like you said, a wooden one.
Absolutely.
So it's just a look of it, and they're fooling everybody with the common sense gun laws. All right, common sense gun laws is garbage because everything that they already have in place is already there. It took me a year to get 2 silencers. And even though I passed that NICS background check, I did everything you asked me to do. That same day that I got my silencers, I couldn't go back in there and buy another one if I wanted to. I could do the same process all over again and wait another whole year.
Oh, yeah, and don't forget about the tax stamp that you had to purchase, right? Because with the ATF, you have to purchase a $200 tax stamp for a suppressor or a silencer?
I think it was $250. I think it was $250 or $200. But either way, my suppressor for my 22 cost me $200, and the tax stamp cost $200.
Yep.
That right there is just price gouging at that point. All right?
Yep.
It took me a year to get it, and even though I passed it, they can't say, okay, well, your background check is going to be good for the next 5 years, because in the world of suppressors right now, the technology is changing so fast that the stuff that I got is old now.
Yeah.
Now they're on the bigger and better things, and I'm here with the old stuff because I had to wait a year, and you can't just take that information that you have, and I've been good for the time that you checked me, but no, we had to check you again and again and again. No different from if you took your driver's test today and you drove from point A to point B, well, you can't get back because you had to take your driver's test again.
Yep.
How stupid is that?
But I'm going to tell you, you know what?
It doesn't make any sense.
But see, brother, here, check this out, black man. It's not just on things like gun control. I mean, gun control is an easy one. The thing is that we as black people have been really politically immature in a lot of ways. We haven't understood
exactly
how the process plays out, right? And part of that is because the people that we trusted to be our advocates politically, right? So because Democrats aren't just the party that we just decided we like, right? Black people have been voting for Democrats primarily because we trusted them, right? We said, all things being equal, if somebody's got to have power, I would rather them have power than the other side because I feel like I could trust them with the power as opposed to the other side, right? That's why we've been voting for them. But here's the thing. Our political advocates have been taking the power that we have granted them through our ballot, through our advocacy for their positions and so on and so forth, and using it to basically put forward measures, actions, and to support systems, institutions that are directly antithetical to our interests. But when you say something about it, because black people are known for brand loyalty, right? What do black folk call diapers? Pampers. That's a brand name, but we call them Pampers. Yeah. Why? Because we love brand name shit, right? We get attached to a brand. The Democrats are a brand. The Republicans are a brand, right? But the thing is that I don't give a damn anymore, and neither should we. We never really should have actually gave a damn about the brand. I hear what you're saying, but I listen to what you do. You see what I'm saying? Right? So,
because there's no compromise for us.
Exactly. For us, everything is black and white. Now I will be fair and say that because ADOS don't get second chances in America, it makes us risk adverse. And you know what I'm talking about, right? If you're a young white dude and you get popped on a drug charge, you can work it off during your 20s, get it expunged by, say, 18, 28, 29. By 35, have a good union job somewhere in construction. And by 45, have a family, a household. You can basically rebuild your life. You caught a felony, right? But you can essentially work your way up from that felony. You can renew. But ADOS get that, and we're among the living dead. We don't get second chances. You see what I'm saying? So because we don't get second chances, it tends to make us very risk adverse. We don't like change. You want to scare a bunch of black folk? Man, all you have to do is talk about we need to change some shit. Niggas is scattering like roaches.
Well, that's what Cobra. You just got finished saying about Cobra. I mean, no, hey, y'all stay over there. We got this. We've been doing this and all the whole nine.
Exactly.
But I think that what's also being missed is a lot of these progressives will tell you that they are down with you, but they want to let you know, I'm down with you, I'm down with everybody. You can't just have that to yourself because this is America and home of the free, brave, and all that kind of stuff. So we all have to work together against a certain group, which is called the Republican Party. But in turn, all the stuff that we're giving you, we're going to give it to them. Just like California gave $22 million in health care to illegal people. And you're telling me my tax dollars, if I lived in California, my tax dollars have to go to illegal immigrant, and I don't want it to.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Wrong. New Jersey gave illegal immigrants scholarships to all New Jersey universities. When's the last time ADOS got a scholarship just for being black and being here?
Yeah, because like you said, it's all over. Because we're showing you how non-racist we are. We're going to give this to illegal immigrants. That's how non-racist we are. But in turn, you're being racist. Like I try to tell Tom Hartman, he's racist without even knowing that he's racist, because he advocates too much for everybody else who is non-American, who hasn't been in this country for as long as we have. Everybody gets to take the front row above us, even though we've had the longest lineage being here. When do you get to be the guy who says, I have seniority here, I have seniority in this country over you?
Black man.
My needs should be taken care of first.
Black man, isn't it ironic that we, who have been in America since before America was America, are now having to ask immigrants, because Feinstein is an immigrant. That's not native to the United States. Bernie Sanders is an immigrant. His people ain't native to the United States. Donald Trump is an immigrant. His family's not native to the United States. Sheila Jackson Lee is an immigrant. So we who are American citizens have to beg for them.
But Mark, this is the thing. This is the thing that's right now that's really scaring them, or that they really don't want to do. They are really scared of the census. If the census was really being able to be researched and done correctly and said, no, I'm not black, but I am ADOS, the map would have to change somehow.
Yes.
And that's what they're scared of. They don't want to know how many illegals are in here. They don't want to know how many people are really claiming ADOS and how many people are really from Africa coming over here getting those benefits that our forefathers died and bled for.
Facts.
That's a really important thing. If you don't think it's important, you got to be kidding me. To know the facts of who you really are and what programs you're really getting, you will see that ADOS isn't accounting for what they should be accounted for, or allotted what they should be allotted, because everybody else is taking it, like you said before, white women as well. It was never meant for you. It was never meant for a white woman to have. But somehow the ACLU and all these other lawyer-up groups, they find a way to sneak that in there for their people as well. Yeah. You might as well sit there and say there's no other way. You can't take that just for them. You have to put it for everybody. But no, the Indians do this all the time. You have to they have a tribunal on their land. You can't go in there and just say, hey, we're going to go ahead and take in no, you just can't go in there and do that like that.
Nope.
There's a whole process to their laws that we don't have, because right now you sit there, we're either in Baltimore or any other black town city, right?
Mm-hmm.
The police are not to protect and to help. The police are there to get revenue out of you, take you to jail, and hurt you. That's really what it is. It's not a thing of, oh, we're here to help and all that. In some cases, yes, but for the most part, their thing is for revenue, tickets and jailing and resisting arrest. And as long as they can tie you up in the system to generate more money for the city. We've already seen it in Ferguson.
Exactly.
It's just, all that talk is just out the door anymore. And I really am glad to see, because, I'm almost 50 now. I am so glad to see younger people now really getting in tune to learn, wait a second, we've just been lied to all these years. And I've been sitting there saying it for the longest, because I remember I started a union. I told you this before. I started a union. And starting a union with only 18 people, and I was in my 20s, that was one of the hardest things I had ever done. And all I'm trying to do is advocate for us to get more money, better benefits, and so on and so forth. And people were really fighting me on that. Like, you've got to be kidding me. No, you're going to start up trouble. You're going to be a troublemaker.
Bruh.
You can't believe how sad it is to have some people not believe in what you're trying to do.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Man, I get more flack from my own ADOS tribesmen than I do from anybody else. Hands down. I get white folk that come on my Twitter feed who co-sign everything I say. No problem. I mean, full bore. They like, preach. Meanwhile, I have ADOS people who consider me a right winger because I said the word Republican. Like, really?
No, it's deeper than that. It's a lot deeper than that. And we've been brainwashed for all these years. Like you said, LBJ, he did his job. He did what he was supposed to do. And his legacy still lives on today, and we're still at that same juncture. And we got to leave that juncture and start really listening to what people are saying, and really start changing the game in your voting, in your local voting especially. your local judge, your local sheriffs.
Yep.
That's easily what you can do. Easily, that's the first step.
Black
hey,
man.
My guy got killed. Go ahead.
No, black man, I was just going to say, bruh, and if you want to get what you never had, you got to do what you never done.
Right. That means school boards. That means the whole nine. Stop letting these schools put your kids in timeout, or what is it called, like detention and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Stop letting them do that. It's get them ready to be in isolation. Don't talk. You can't talk in here. Be quiet. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Stop letting your kids be isolated with that kind of a punishment. You're not supposed to be able to put somebody as a young person like that in that kind of structure with a young developing mind. That's not cool. You have to come up with something else besides that as a punishment. We can talk about it, hey, do this again, or whatever the case might be, this, that, and the third, whatever. We used to write sentences. I don't know. There has to be a better system besides putting kids into a room and saying, shut up, no socializing.
Oh, I hear
let's
you.
Talk about your problems. What happened today?
I hear you.
Why did you do that? Why did this happen? Why
you know what? Let me tell you
why
something.
Why were you doing that?
They did a study. I'm going to have to find it, and I'm going to include it in the description field when I find it. But they did a study on behavioral outbursts on students in class.
Right.
And you know what they found was the one
Okay.
overwhelming factor on how students or why students act up in class? This is going to mess you up. Because they hungry. When a kid is hungry, they act out. They found that across the board, a correlation with food insecurity and acting out behavior in a classroom. But we let people talk us in to talking about cutting school lunch programs and charging parents and so on and so forth. You feel me? You know what? Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of being told I'm a beggar for wanting my government to actually do something for me. Look, I have never said this on a public broadcast, but my political philosophy is anarchism. I don't even want a goddamn government. That being said, the vast majority of my ethnic compatriots, my tribes people, and our fellow national citizens want a government. So if we're going to have a government, then damn it, let's have one, right? Have one that does something for you.
Yeah, you have to have a government that's more submissive and that's going to be more willing to listen to your needs. I'll tell you this real quick story. I remember being in California when I was a kid, right? And I remember you had the lottery first came out. And when the lottery came out, a lot of illegal immigrants were winning the lottery earnings. And people were getting pissed off saying, no, they're not citizens. They should be able to play in our lottery. And if you notice, even to this day, they'll sit there and say you have to be a legal U.S. resident in order to win this game. Do you see what I'm sitting there saying?
Yep.
So at one point in time, the advocacy was there to say, hey, our citizens have told us something. We need to start listening to our citizens. And they did. You see what I'm saying? But now they're not listening anymore. The same, I can't understand how a guy like Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi, who aren't into guns, have so much to say about guns. You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't even know enough, but you're sitting there making all these rash arguments and dumb statements, and I can't even wrap my head around it because everything that you're sitting there saying is just more propaganda, especially in the black community.
Facts. Ida B. Wells told me what I need to do with guns.
Yourself.
Ida B. Wells gave me all the information I need. Ida B. Wells said that the Winchester rifle should have the place of honor in every black home. I don't have a Winchester rifle, but I'm friends with Smith & Wesson. You can best believe that.
Right, there you go. Right, and but again, when we look at the processes that have gone on to this, it's because it's just a steady decreasing of your rights that a lot of black people don't even know about.
Hold on a second, black man. Hold on a second, bro. Let me address something with you real quick, because I think you're gonna feel me on this one, right? I think it's actually completely different than what you're talking about, and I'm gonna explain why I think it's different. I think that black people have been treating the Democrats like we want to be treated. There are many issues that the Democrats hold as party planks and platforms that we don't necessarily vibe with. I'm not going to go into them here. Some of them are very incendiary, right? But I will simply say that there are a lot of things that are put forward as the Democratic or liberal position in this country that black folk don't really truck with when it's us. Like when it's family talking amongst family, we don't roll like that. But what we've been doing is we understand instinctively that politics is an exchange. It's a quid pro quo. One hand washes the other one. You do for me, I do for you, right? So what we've been doing is we've been co-signing a lot of things that in mixed company, we like, okay, yeah, I can get behind that, right? But we haven't been honest. There's a lot of things that we've been co-signing we really don't mess with, but we've been co-signing it in the hope that Democrats will do something for us that we can rock with, that we can vibe with. But we haven't been getting the reciprocity. Because I'll be honest with you, whenever you're around black folk, ADOS folk, and we talking about politics, I'm just gonna keep it a buck. If you look at us just from a political standpoint of view, there are many of us who have more in common with conservatives politically than we do with liberals. Right? But because the conservatives have been demonized by our party affiliation as the enemy, right? So there's that, number one. Number two, we've been trying to initiate a relationship of reciprocity with the Democrats without it being returned. You got a lot of us out here looking like that we hold to positions politically that we really wouldn't mess with if we actually gave ourselves the choice. If we actually said, wait a minute, they're not showing us reciprocity, or I'm not really with this, insert whatever it is you're not really with here. Right? What do you think about that, brother?
It's the truth. Like I sit there and said, that was the LBJ's plan, to make sure that black folks would always be scared of Republicans from that day forward. And they did what they're supposed to do. And now, if you sit there and say anything about, you said it already, you are a definite sellout if you voted for a Donald Trump. If you wear a Make America Great hat or a MAGA hat around here or whatever,
you're done.
You are definitely
you're canceled.
You're done. But now remember this: back in the '90s, if you wore a Raiders cap, the police would beat the hell out your ass too. So just don't judge the hat. You know, when NWA was out and everybody was wearing Raider hats, oh, you got to be in the gang. You got to be a bad guy because they said F the police. So we're definitely going to throw down on you. And that's what's going on now. But it's on the other side with the MAGA hat thing. Now people just jumping on you. You got a MAGA hat on. I'm just jumping on you, not even knowing what part of it do you like? What part of it are you on? Is this just a protest vote? I know people just, I'm going to go in here and vote for Trump just as a protest vote to show them I'm not playing with you.
Most definitely. As a matter of fact,
to throw them off.
I've talked to so many white folks who voted for Trump, and the overwhelming theme was that anybody but Hillary. I live in Washington State, and I live in the western half of Washington, which is like liberal island, like Fantasy Island. It's like liberal island in western Washington, right? And you had liberal white folks up here vote for Trump. Now, why would that be? Because the Democratic candidate they put up, they couldn't ride with.
And that's why they have so many this time around. We're going to catch y'all with one of these. We got 20 some odd people in this race. We're going to catch y'all with one of these. Not going to be any 5 or 6 anymore. We're coming at y'all hard with 20-some people. But again, I think it's going to fail because you're going to split the party too much again. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I hear you.
Going anywhere.
Hey, Black man, I want to address a couple of items in the chat, bruh. So I want to go ahead and have you drop off. Plus, I'm going to be finishing up here, man, because I'm glad I finished on your call because you brought the heat tonight, bruh. And I really appreciate your information. I appreciate your love, man. You know you are welcome to call in anytime. Family, y'all are going in the chat. Let me go back up through here. Right? Chris said Democrats gave us the belief pill, but the pills have no cure or effects on us. We never get healthy. You know what? I'm sorry, but I don't think the Republicans is wrong when they bring up how we have Democratic strongholds that are shitholes. People living in Democratic strongholds that look like third world countries. That's not to say that liberals don't have policies I can't ride with. Of course they do. Just like conservatives have policies that I can ride with. But here's the thing. Unsunken once said, We've set moral aside for Dems, right? Political, our political amoral pragmatism, right? We've been amoral, but we haven't been pragmatic. Because had we been pragmatic, we would have seen very early on, like in the late 80s, basically, that the Democrats don't mean us no good. And we would have either demanded a change in the dynamic between us, right? Because I think it's right now, I can see the Democrats doing something to assist black folk, but it's gonna be like pulling teeth, right? It's gonna take a hell of a lot of effort because we've taught them over decades how to treat us. Oh no, just go on in there and talk to Sharpton, right? Make sure you get the hot sauce. You know what I'm saying? Niggas like hot sauce, right? So get the hot sauce, right? Go to Sophia's or whatever the restaurant is, you know what I'm saying? Go over there and pay your obeisance to Sharpton, and he gonna get the niggas in line, and then we can just do whatever we want. Right? We've taught them how to treat us. If we're going to have any effect on the Democrats, family, for those, I'm throwing you a bone. Those of you who think that we can reform the Democrats, I'm gonna give you a gimme. If we're going to have any effect on the Democrats, we need to have a sit out for the next 3 presidential elections, the next Senate election, and the next 6 House elections. Or congressional, House elections, right? They need to know they can't count on our vote. Period, point blank. They can't count on it. And we need to hit them, and we need to hit them hard. We need to hit them where it hurts. And at the same time, we also need to be reaching out feelers to the other side. I'm not saying leave the Democrats. I'm not saying Blexit. I'm not Candace Owens. I'm saying we need to have discussion and dialogue with the other half of the political structure in this country. How you expect to run, okay? And you hamstring one of your legs. The country only has 2 political parties, but you are talking to only 50% of the political structure? And you expect work to get done? That don't make sense. That don't make sense. Chris, if we lived in a just nation, there would be all sorts of little parties. Like, look over in the UK. I've been following that whole Brexit thing with great interest over in the UK. Right? They got the Brexit Party and UKIP. And they got the Lib Dems, and they've got, the Scottish Nationalist Party, and they got, Plaid Cymru, and they got all these different little parties that share power in the parliament. You feel me? We got to go, thank you, Unsunken One, we got to go neutral. When the Democrats start talking about we can't get any support for the Green New Deal, we'd be like, oh, sucks to be you, don't it? But when the Republicans talking about they can't get support for their legislation, be like, oh, don't you wish you had a black vote right now, huh? We need to be amoral, yes, but pragmatic. That's all I'm saying, family. I'm not saying if you love the Democrats, I'm not saying leave the Democrats. I'm saying, though, the only way you're going to change the dynamic, to change the relationship, is to make it clear that your vote is up for sale to the highest bidder and you're a single issue voter, ADOS. If you can't do that, then consign yourself to the fact that the Democrats ain't going to do much for you. They haven't been, and they have no incentive to do so. Period. There's a bunch of us out here who understand strategy. Blacklight Blues. By the way, shout out to you, Blacklight Blues. Blacklight Blues said he's thinking of changing, or he or she. I'm sorry, I don't know your sex or gender or whatever. But Blacklight Blues said, I'm thinking of changing my party affiliation to independent. That way you scare the hell out of the Dems and you keep the GOP from purging you from the voting rolls. That's strategy. That's smart. Unsunken One said, our vote needs to be a jump ball. You're damn right. We toss it up, and whoever can catch that rebound, get the vote. Our vote, DDD, is still relevant for now. What has the potential to make our vote irrelevant, however? Well, I'll leave that for another broadcast. How to keep black folk in suspense, right? Sean Dent said they give us reparations. We give them all three branches of government for the next 100 years. Facts. Whichever party, I'm telling you, Republican or Democrat, partisans, if you out there and you listening to somebody like little old me, let me tell you how you ensure that you will and your party will have power for the next 100 years. Do something on this justice claim. Put this baby to sleep. Put this baby to bed. Let's put paid to this debt and call it all good. And I guarantee you, you'll never have to worry about political power in this country for the next 100 years at a minimum. That's it. And that's all. Family, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for your love, your support. By the way, fam, I know you saw the links going up through the chat. Those are links to support my work. If you think that I've done something that edifies, that brings you the information you need, that gives you the tools and the weapons you need to go out here and do this advocacy, and you have a few coins, please throw them your brother's way. I'm not going to beg. I ain't that dude, right? But it would be appreciated, and definitely I would love you, right? There's also links in the description to merchandise for my channel, right? Pick up an Angry Black Sheep shirt or a hoodie or a mug, right? If you want some tangibles in return for your support. There's links to books in my channel, the purchase of which helps to go to support my work. And there's also free resources there too. I understand my audience. We can't all call it. But you still need something to get you through the day. There's links to free reports, including the seminal work by Dr. Darity and Antonio Moore at Alia, What We Get Wrong About the Racial Wealth Gap. It's right there. Go ahead and click those links in the description. And family, I will see you on Sucker Free Saturday. So until then, I want to wish you all, as always, love, peace, prosperity, and power. Real power to our people.